Hello again, friends. I have a quick and fun blanket stitch tutorial to share with you today. This stitch creates a squishy rib-like fabric that almost looks like it was knit, but it's all crochet made entirely with single and double crochet stitches. If you want to know how, then follow along with me. Before we start, let's go over the materials that I used to make my blanket. I've also listed them below in the description along with the links to the full pattern, so make sure you check that out as well. You'll want to grab some yarn, of course. I use Knit Picks Mighty Stitch worsted weight yarn for my blanket. You'll also need a crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle to weave in the loose ends. Okay, let's get started. We'll begin by making a foundation chain. Make a slip knot and then chain 226 stitches. If you're wondering why we're chaining such a large number, it's because the length of the foundation chain will determine the length of the blanket and not the width like most blanket patterns. So my blanket is going to be 53 inches long, which is a good length for a sofa throw. And with the yarn and hook size that I'm using, I've calculated the gauge to be 4.25 stitches per inch. So that means that we need to chain 225 stitches plus one for the turning chain to end up with a blanket that's 53 inches long. So if you want to make your blanket shorter or longer, you can just use this formula. All you need to do is make a small swatch first to make sure that the gauge is the same and that you have the same number of stitches per inch of fabric. So if you're following along with me, maybe make a small swatch first with however many stitches you want, maybe even 20 stitches, just to check the gauge before you begin your full-size blanket. Now that we've completed the foundation chain, we're ready to begin row 1, which is a row of single crochet stitches. Single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops. And then single crochet into each remaining chain. I like to crochet into the back bumps of the foundation chain because it gives a prettier edge, but you don't have to if you're used to crocheting into a different part of the chain. It's up to you. And I forgot to mention that row 1 in every odd numbered row is the front side of your work. At the end of the row, the total number of stitches will be the length of the foundation chain minus 1. So if you're working on a smaller swatch, it's a good idea just to double check this number every few rows while you're getting the hang of the stitch to make sure that you're not accidentally increasing or decreasing stitches along the way. Now that row 1 is done, we can begin row 2. Turn your work, and now we're going to make a chainless starting double crochet to begin the row. So instead of chaining 3 and skipping the first stitch, this is just a nicer way to begin a row of double crochet stitches. Since this chainless starting double crochet stitch looks more like an actual double crochet and leaves a cleaner edge. Plus, for the next row, we'll be working into the back loops of the double crochets in this row. So it'll be easier to find the spot to work into if this stitch looks like an actual double crochet stitch and not just a chain. Okay, the first step is to pull up a loop to the height of a double crochet stitch. And then use your index finger on your right hand to hold the loop in place while twisting the hook around it once. So now it looks like you have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first loop on the hook. This will leave 2 remaining loops on the hook. Now we're just going to yarn over and pull through these remaining 2 loops. That's it. And trust me, you'll love how much better this looks than a turning chain on the edges of your work. And because this chainless starting double crochet counts as the first stitch, we'll skip the first stitch and work the next double crochet into the second stitch. But instead of working into the top of the stitch, we're going to double crochet into the third loop, which is just the bump under the top loops at the front of the stitch that's facing you. Yarn over and insert your hook into the third loop, and then yarn over and pull through. Then, just like a normal double crochet stitch, yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops on the hook. And finally, yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops to complete the double crochet. So this will push the top loops to the front of your work. Remember that row 2 is the back side, which is what we're working on right now. So I'll complete a few more stitches here and then show you what I mean. Okay, I think I've worked enough stitches here so that you can see the effect on the other side. By working into the third loop and pushing the top loops to the front, we create what looks like a sideways row of knit stitches on the row below. And although they are horizontal when looking at it this way, remember that each row is actually worked along the length of the blanket. So when you hold the blanket properly, it will look like a column of knit stitches and create a ribbed effect in the blanket as well. And that's row 2. Once we reach the end of the row, we'll work into the third loop of the last single crochet and turn our work to begin row 3. For row 3, we're going to work a row of single crochet stitches into the back loops of each double crochet stitch from row 2. We'll begin the row by chaining 1. And so the back loop is the loop that's furthest away from you at the top of the stitch. And to single crochet into the back loop, you just insert the hook only into the back loop instead of both loops at the top of the stitch. Super easy. So we're just going to work all the way down the row, single crocheting just into the back loop of each stitch until we reach the end of the row. And that's it for row 3. And other than attaching the tassels to the ends, this is all you need to know to crochet your own blanket. So continue repeating rows 2 and 3 until the blanket measures 37 inches, or however wide you want it to be if you're not making the sofa size throw. And after a few rows, this is what your work should look like. And then once your blanket is as wide as you'd like it to be, you just need to fasten off, weave in all loose ends, and then we'll attach some tassels to the ends to complete the look. Adding tassels to your blanket is super easy. The first step is to cut the yarn into a bunch of strands that measure 12 inches in length. And we're going to add them to each side of the length of the blanket. So at the beginning and end of each double crochet row. So grab 2 of the yarn strands, fold them in half, and use your crochet hook to pull them through the space between the last 2 stitches of each double crochet row. And we're not going to pull them all the way through, just about an inch is perfect. So we're basically creating a loop, and then we're going to use the hook to pull the ends of the yarn through this loop to make a knot. That's it. The final step is to pull tight and secure the knot. And once all of your tassels have been added to the ends of the double crochet rows, I recommend steaming them straight and then trimming them just so that they're all the same length. I hope you're feeling ready to crochet this cozy blanket yourself now. Thanks for watching, and say hi in the comments. I'd love to hear what yarn you picked and how your blanket turned out. And of course, I have to mention that if this video helped, please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can share more crochet tutorials with you.